Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. How are you? How are you? Come on in the room, as they say. Come on in, tune in, comment, like, and share. Tell me all the things. If you could tell me where you're from, tell me where you're watching from, what city and state, that would be great. Be sure to tag someone that you know, is looking to build in their confidence, your entrepreneurial friends, your creatives, your ministry leaders, all of those people. That is who this is for. So tag them in the comments below. Listen, welcome to the Confidence Factor, where identity meets strategy and confidence becomes our posture. I am Nicole Marie, your inspired strategist, and I'm here to help you build what heaven showed you, both boldly and confidently. Each week this month, y'all, we are at the end of the month. The end of the month. We're at the end of the month. We made it. We finally made it. And each week we have explored how confidence has shaped how we show up in life, how we show up in leadership, and how we show up in our legacy. Last week we had Apostle Angela L. Tebow, and it was nothing short of like truly a divine appointment. And for so many people, I got so many text messages, so many calls from so many different people from different walks of life that came, that were here live, as well as people who were that were not here with us live. They watched the replay, they caught it on YouTube, all of those things. And so their lives were impacted. She really did help bring some clarity to spaces, and all of the things. And I'm so grateful that she was able to come and to share. Yes, she gave us the practical steps. She really did. And we talked about how the grace to become, right? We talked about just the weight that we need to be able to be confident and to walk in that thing, right? She reminded us that confidence is often misdiagnosed, right? And that we think we are more bold than we really are, but we really don't just need more boldness. We need more truth, and we need more healing, and we need to trust both God and ourselves. So listen, I am so glad. And I'm so excited about this week's episode. It has been such a journey, and I want to thank each and every one of you that have tuned in, whether both live or watch the replay, that have shared, that have supported, and all of the things. This week's episode, we are talking about building in silence. And what does that look like to have to build when you don't have the applause, right? To build in spite of the things, and not to focus on the approval or desires or love of everybody else. And today I get to introduce you all to a friend and a brother. This man, you all, has I've watched him since I was a teenager, late teenager, early adulthood. And I watched him build, I watched him grow with his family. I watched him grow his businesses, right? I watched him grow with his ideas, right? From literally from like the birth of an idea to the manifestation of it. And a lot of the times, those of you that are heavily in the church, you guys really, we say that, right? We talk about manifestation, we talk about all of those things, and we don't often see the fruit of it. I watched this man literally build, see, sow, water, grow, and let that thing grow to the true manifestation of a thing. And we're going to talk about that today. He didn't do it with all of the things and tools that we see often. He did, and he didn't, right? He did it without the applause of the people that you would often think. He did it in his own way, and I love that. I'm so excited. But I'm going to start by talking to you all about a man that both he and I know, and that is my spiritual father before he passed away a few years ago. And today is where this is built from. And most of this actually this series has really been one that was inspired by his life. He was someone who walked in confidence in every space, right? He always had his head up high. He held his head up high, but he also knew how to bow it low when it came to praying, and he knew how to be on his knees. And I watched him really submit his life to the Lord. And I watched him build without the need for the world around him. Apostle Harry Stackhouse was somebody who built with integrity. He was someone who was an amazing father, not just to his biological children, but to those that he really took in. He really loved people, but he also took his mandate and his purpose seriously. He knew what his assignment was in the earth, and he never allowed anything to waver him. And so he stood on business. He really did. And he taught me how to do that. And for a long time after he passed, I had a hard time doing that. And so recently, that's something that has been brewing back up in me, is the consistency of building and doing what God has called you to do. And so when it came to this, and you all know that this has truly been a divine assignment when it came to the confidence factor. And as I was praying through who to bring on, Tyrus's name came up, and I was immediately like, yes, he truly fits the bill for this assignment. And I am so excited. Tyrus is a father, a husband. He's a leader, and he's a creative. Y'all, he's a thug. He's a thug for real. Like, y'all don't even understand. I can't wait. He told me in the back end, y'all, that I don't even have to worry about crying today. I don't have to worry about my tissue or nothing like that. And I am so excited about that. Tyrus, I'm so excited for you to be with us. Thank you so much for your time today.
Listen, first of all, that introduction was crazy. I appreciate that. I wasn't expecting that much love. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And thank you
Yeah,
for having me. Um,
yeah,
when you reached out, I'm like, oh, little sis, we hadn't talked in a little while.
yeah.
I was like, little sis, I wonder how she's doing. What's she up to? And we started talking. I was like, absolutely. One, I'm on board. Anything I could do to help, I will. And that's future tense as well. Anytime I can help you with anything, you let me know. I'm gonna do my best to say yes.
Listen,
And
I'm gonna take you up on it. I'm gonna take you up on it. Believe me, we have some conversations to have here coming soon. So
yeah, yeah. You spoke about Pastor Harry, Apostle Harry, and I would always joke about this. I don't know, maybe he was 5'6", maybe 5'7", but I would always say he was the biggest man in the room. I don't care what room it
no
was.
matter what room he was in, he was always the tallest and the biggest. Always,
Yeah, yeah. And
always.
and he's such like a quiet, humble man. But if you stuck around him long enough, that lion would hop out of him. One day we were disagreeing about something. No, we weren't even disagreeing. He was teaching me about 70s racism. He was just talking to me about what he went through. And I'm listening to him, and we're going, like just talking.
It's
And
so
something happened where I
ridiculous.
think he thought I didn't believe him, and he jumped up on the table. I was like, I said, calm down. Like I believe
Yeah,
you.
breathe there, breathe.
Yeah. So
So
he was a man of many talents, but his behavior and his attitude followed his heart and his belief system. And so it
absolutely.
was always a pleasure to sit underneath him. Literally, I would hijack time from him, go into his office,
Yes.
sit next to him, and talk his head off, meaning make him talk to me.
Make
And
him talk to you.
I was
Absolutely.
trying to steal everything. I was always
Ah,
stealing.
listen.
Because it was such wisdom, and
Yeah.
it was wisdom and such a kind heart that it came from. He always wanted to help, and
Yeah.
so it felt like he wanted to help. So yeah,
Listen, he everything that I'm endeavoring to start and build now, he and I talked about. And it's amazing seeing these things come to, fruition, and to see. um I would sit in his office. I was in therapy at the time, and I would leave therapy and go sit in his office and talk further about what I processed in therapy, because he always had a lot more insight into what was delved into, and then also how to then apply that practically. And he really was so good at making things practical and what this looks like. What
mm,
this thing looks like, and walking it out day to day. He has so much wisdom. And one of the things that I was thinking about this week is how he actually built so much legacy, right? When you think about all of his spiritual children, all of his God kids, all of his biological children, and how many of us have spread out, and where we are, and the impact of that type of um that type of assignment, but I specifically was thinking about the men and how many men he built. You don't see that a lot these days, and it's amazing to see that that consistency be um, fulfilled and continued. And so I am excited to have you as in your own space, in your own walk, in your own business and your own entrepreneurial efforts. I'm excited to see everything that you're doing and to talk through that today. So can you tell the people what you do? Because I could talk forever, but could you tell the people what you actually do?
Yeah, I can try. So I am Tyrus Goshay, do an introduction, and I'm the owner of Tito Sketch Illustration. We make children's books and other types of books, but primarily children's books. I also run a program called Literacy Alive, where we go into the schools and help children create books, help them focus on reading, the importance of reading, and we use different tools to get them excited about literacy. And I own a personal gym here in Gurnee called VIP Fitness. And so I'm pretty busy taking on a new challenge in the next couple of weeks. I think I'll be a COO for a company. We're not sure yet. We'll see what
Oh,
happens. So
yeah, that's
I'm pretty
amazing.
busy. Pretty busy, but I enjoy every moment of it. So we shall see. We shall see. Yeah.
That's exciting. That is so exciting. Well, I want to ask, and I want to start off by talking about building in silence. What does it mean to build without applause? What does that mean to you to build without the applause?
Yeah. So I love that question. And our private conversation when that came up, I didn't look at it in that way. I would call it something completely different. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a background on that. So we were talking about Apostle Harry a few moments ago. And years ago, when I was a young lad, he and I were having a conversation. And wasn't exactly new in the church, but I hadn't been there as long as a lot of other people. And there were some people who just didn't like my personality, justifiably so, maybe. Not my argument.
Not
Um,
mine.
but he and I were having this conversation, and I started listening to people who I go, this person doesn't like me, that person doesn't like me. Not, and I wasn't asking him to feel sorry for me. I was gearing up for war because my whole persona, my personality was to prove people wrong. It's like, I know who you are, I know what you think about me, and I'm going to prove you wrong. But there's still that hidden hurt
Mhm.
as to people judging you or you not fitting into a certain
Absolutely.
box, and that's a private, deep hurt. And you know what he said? He said something that helped me take the armor off. He said, I don't care if they like you, I like you.
Mm.
And listed up all of these people who I thought was so important and who would stop me from
Come on.
ascending to where I thought I belonged.
Come on.
And he said, well, I don't care if they like you, I like you. And that was a metaphor to
Yeah.
everything from that point on. It doesn't matter who's against me.
That
God is for me.
God is for me. Who
And
can be?
so that
Yeah.
freed me to understand God will open the doors that He wants open for
So
me,
good.
no
Yeah.
matter who likes my personality, who likes me, who wants to hang out with me, who wants to be around me. And that was the beginning of the journey of ignoring applause. And
Mm.
here's why it's important to be able to ignore the applause. Because if the applause moves you, when the applause stops, you have to stop too. If the crowd is what moves you, when the crowd is gone, you won't work. Have you ever been someplace? Look, I know you experienced this because you're a human being, you're an adult, right? Have you ever been someplace and you work with someone whenever the boss came around, they're busy working, they don't let the boss know they're working, and as soon as
Yeah.
the boss leaves, those are unproductive people. That's why when the boss
Mm.
pretend to work,
That is so good. That is
right? Okay.
so good.
Now
Yeah.
look,
Hmm.
if you're really working, you working anyway. When a boss come around, oh hey boss, you have to stop working to acknowledge the boss. You have to say, hey, how you doing? Yeah, I'm doing this report. I'm doing X, Y, Z. But when you're pretending, you're not really doing work anyway. So those people don't actually create progress. They're just pretending. And so the applause can't be the fuel. The applause cannot be the fuel. It could be something you receive. Congratulations if you get it, but that can't be the reason why you get to work. When I wake up in the morning, whether I go in at 4 a.m., 7 a.m., whatever time, there's nobody applauding me. Sometimes I pretend in my head I have a camera over my shoulder and I'm being documented.
Yeah.
Get to work. There's a camera over your shoulder. You got to show them how this is done. And the alarms go off. When the alarms go off, I hope to already be at work. The alarms are emergency. When the alarms go off, I'm at work and I'm already working. And I keep my door closed when the team is here. I keep my door closed. I'm going to work whether they're here or not. I expect them to do the same. And that comes from removing this idea that you need everyone to start clapping for you all the time because
That's good.
it's paralyzing when
It's
you need that.
it is
It's
so
paralyzing.
amazing. It is so I think I have that was one of my major, I didn't necessarily grow up with a lot of affirmation and all of those things from home and all of those, typical storylines, but until I was able to really press through that. And you're right. That's something he actually said to me as well, because I navigated some similar dynamics. And even I feel like everywhere I go, I navigate those dynamics. That's why I started laughing. I'm like, yeah, that seems to be a thing. But until you break through that space of being so focused on you that all you see is you, and all you see is how you feel, and they did this to me. It is really more of a self-centered mentality. And until you can break that and shift your focus on, okay, well, why are you actually here, and who is actually pushing and behind you, pushing you, and if God is for you, who really can be against you? And if the person that you're actually doing this for, and if they receive you, that's it. That's all that matters. It does, it really does not. And I think that's so good. Even the analogy of the work when you're working, that is so good. And I hope you all caught that. And I want to say good morning. I saw Danielle was on. Good morning, Lakeisha. Good morning to you all. But I wanna go back to I want to go to talking about motivation, because it's such a good concept. And that you have to push, and when like people know that cognitively, right? It's like, yeah, if I'm going to do, and I think a lot of people, good morning, Catherine, how are you? I think a lot of people endeavor, I think we really endeavor to do the right thing, and I think people try to, they think, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this well. I mean, I know that there are people that don't think and have the best of intentions, but I think a lot of people do. But then when you're in it and you don't get that affirmation, and you're hopeful, you're excited, especially when especially when you're working for someone, right? When you are literally helping someone, or you're serving. I have a lot of people on that often are in a place of service. They're serving people. And when we're in those spaces and seasons, it's hard when the people you're actually serving don't respond. But how do you stay motivated to the assignment and to what you're actually doing, even when you don't get that applause? So let's say your boss walks past you and doesn't speak to you. How do you continue in those spaces when you don't get even just the acknowledgement?
Yeah, I'm going. Let me take a step back, then I'll take a step forward.
Okay.
And we were talking about the applause thing. This came to me. If you read the word, and I
Mhm.
hope we got some Bible readers out there.
Yeah.
If you look at some of the greatest men of God, if not all, they grew in isolation and loneliness. Let me give it to you. Moses, and I'm gonna come back to Moses because he's
Come
gonna be
on.
part two of the course of the book.
Yes.
But Moses couldn't grow into what he was supposed to be until he was isolated. He had to leave his high place of command.
Come on.
He had to be betrayed by the very people he was concerned about. They were the ones who wanted to turn him in. Said, "We know you're a murderer. We know what you did." And he's like, "Wait a minute, I killed him for y'all. Y'all gonna turn on me?" So he had to run. And the
Yeah.
God didn't tell him he had to run. He said he had to run. But in his running, in his isolation, he found his wife. He
Come on.
found his people.
Come on.
He found his relationship with God. But all of that happened in isolation. It
Yeah.
didn't happen with the applause. It didn't happen when he was surrounded by the big people, the big wigs, when he was in a high place. That's
So
not where it happened at. It happened in loneliness. It happened in
yeah.
desperation. It
Yeah.
happened in isolation.
Come on. Desperation.
Now, when we look at the life of Moses, he couldn't be what God needed him to be until he learned I can be unpopular. So he went from being real popular, very popular, being the man, to being in a place of, I don't care if y'all like me, Egyptians. I know who I used to be. I know who you thought I was, but
Come on.
God called me to something else. And so he had to shed his skin to become what God had created him to be. He had to get rid of the titles. He had to get rid of the popularity. He had to get rid of his place on high, and he had
Yeah.
to go low. And in him going low, God brought on the very plagues that destroyed Egypt, that destroyed the government that had enslaved. Y'all don't hear what I'm saying. The
It's
government that had enslaved
good.
God's people. But if Moses wasn't willing to be alone, that doesn't happen. If Moses had to be popular and had to have people clapping for him and telling him he was the man and have the fans fanning and have the camels walking by on
Come on.
parade, if he couldn't get away from where he was, he couldn't do God's work. So God's work came from the loneliness. It came from him being in the. Listen, if you go back, read the story. I
So
ain't going to
good.
read it now. I'm
You
going to get to the
did.
part
You
you
just
asked me.
preached the whole word. Let me tell you, talking about you're not gonna make me cry today. You
No, no,
lied.
don't be over there crying. I told you we ain't. Listen, what
Listen.
we had a deal. Ain't gonna be no
Listen,
crying
y'all,
on
he
this.
promised me. Hold on, let me tell y'all. Because each week,
Okay.
we've had some really heavy hitters that really have tried. I think they endeavored to make us cry. And but Tyrus promised me today. He
Mm,
promised me we're not
mm.
gonna cry. He said, and if you cry, use your sleeve, is what
Use
he
your
told me.
sleeve.
No
That's
tissue
what we
allowed.
do. No
So
tissue allowed over here.
listen, but he just preached the whole word, and I hope y'all are listening. Keep going, Ty.
I want to get to the second part though. You said, how do you do the job when no one's applauding, when no one's looking, when you
Yeah.
don't have that support? I want to go back and check this out. Let's look at Joseph.
Mm.
Joseph found his purpose in serving. When he was in jail and he said, "Man, don't forget me. I'm gonna talk about it like I'm a regular person. Don't forget me. I'm in jail. I hooked you. Your boy hooked you up. I told you what your dreams mean. When you get out, think about your boy." And they forgot him, and he didn't stop serving. And what happened is, if you read the story, his servitude led him to being the second highest in all of the lands. As a
Yes.
matter of fact, now here we go. The servitude is what saved his family. I should spin around in this chair and do a full. The
Come on here.
servitude is what
Come on
rescued his
here.
family. The same family that didn't like him, that didn't give him any applause, that betrayed him, that thought he was too good, so they're gonna teach him a lesson. And all he was doing was walking in the purpose that God had put inside of him.
This is so good.
And so his purpose. Now watch. I want you to hear this part. The purpose is what created the haters in the first place. The purpose is what turned his brothers against him. As a matter of fact, his dad said that dream you had, I don't like that dream so much. What
I don't
you
like
you,
it.
you shall rule over me, us? His dad, who Joseph was his favorite. I got a favorite. I ain't gonna tell nobody who it is, but I go to my favorite and say, "You think this?" And my favorite goes, "It's just a dream I had." I scratch my head. I think about Joseph's dad. He scratched his head and said, "I don't know about this." His very purpose turned his brothers against him. They became haters. Who do you think he is? Who does he think he is, right?
Mm.
And then what happened? They sold him into slavery. They thought about killing him. That's how much they hated him. They wanted to kill baby bro. That's how much they hated him. But in their hatred, they forced him into the greater purpose of God. So now Joseph was betrayed by his brothers. He was lied on. He was forgotten about. He was isolated. He was in jail.
Come on.
All of those things allowed him to mature and become the very thing that we talk about today. And oh, by the way, because Joseph was smart enough to endure, we speak about him thousands of years later.
Yes.
Thousands of years later. If Joseph couldn't endure the loneliness and the silence, no one would know his name.
Come on.
No one would know his name. You wouldn't, God would have had to use somebody else. Now, hold on. How many people did God say, "I have a plan for you," and they didn't walk in the plan of God because they'd rather hear the applause of man?
That is such a moment of silence. Yes.
I'm scared. Hey, I'm scared. I'm, I'm scared that when I died, I stand before God. He said, I had all of this for you, but you wanted the applause, so this is what you got. And for all eternity, I would have to live with the fact that the applause of man stole my place in the kingdom, and that my great, 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 great grandkids couldn't say, Grandpa was crazy. Look at what he did. Great, 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 great grandpa was crazy. I
Nuts.
gave that up so people could clap for me on Instagram, so people on Facebook could come and give me a like.
Woo!
Listen, I don't like nobody that much that I'm gonna let them take
I don't
what
like
God.
nobody
I
that
don't like
much.
nobody. Don't
Come
call me. No, no,
on.
no. You don't want
Come
to
on.
talk to me. Don't talk to me. You don't like me. I barely don't like me sometimes. That's okay. I understand. You feel me? I understand. But I gotta go after what God. And then here's the third part to the question. Yes, I'm sorry. Let me give you the third
No,
part.
you're doing,
Is
yeah. Go ahead.
purpose is within you anyway. So you
Come on.
have to shut purpose down in order to pursue applause. Now, watch, look, I had a sister, my sister, she passed away,
Shut purpose down.
but we were 7, 5, 6, 7, 8, and she could not stop singing. She would sing, she'd grab a toilet tissue roll and sing, and I'd be like, shut up. You sing, shut up. I'd tell her to shut up, shut up. But see, God had put a songbird in her, so
Yeah.
it couldn't wait to get out. And by the time she was 13 or 14 years old, she was leading the big choir. She was everywhere singing. People couldn't wait to hear her sing.
Mm.
I didn't understand that as a little boy, so I was a hater.
You
I
was a
couldn't
hater.
wait to hate him.
You
Listen,
was
I
a
gave our
hater.
little sister heck. Do you hear me? Every chance I got. And then I saw God start to put her in position. Oh, that was you, God. Oh, she's singing where? She's doing what? She, and let me tell you something too. When you have purpose that comes from God, and you know that it comes from God, and you know it's His gift, you don't care about the applause so much that when R. Kelly came to her and said, I want you to sing for me, she go, oh, this isn't mine to sing for you with. This is God's. So no. So when all the scandals came out, I looked and said, girl, you really do know God. See, purpose will keep you out of mess. When your
Purpose.
flesh will tell you. Go ahead. No, you talk. I've been talking too long.
No,
Please,
you
you talk.
listen. I'm just picking because I'm literally just right now. I feel like Corey, and all I say is all I'm repeating is what you saying in the corner. Because you are hitting the nail on the head. You're literally hitting the nail on the head. I thought about I think it was Daniel that did this analogy, but I can't remember. But he took the rope. It was a long rope, like a long jump rope. But at the end, it had this little tape on it, like imagine a jump rope. I had one.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, it has that plastic piece, but there's this entire rope at the end. And he said, we think about this. Let's think about this whole thing from beginning to end as the totality of us, right? The totality of who you are, the totality of your eternity from beginning to end, from the time God thought about you till eternity. There really is no end to that rope, right? But that little piece, that plastic piece, is just the amount of the life that you live on this earth. And the rest of that is your eternity. And we
Mm-hmm.
focus so much on these little pieces that we forget about eternity. And he was talking about salvation in the moment, but I actually began to think about what you just said when you just were talking about the generational aspects of things. And it's not just your blood children, it is the impact of what you do. It is the impact. You're right. If they had not endured those moments of silence and those moments of pain and those moments of agony and frustration and even the rejection that it is, even like you said, when they didn't even like themselves. And even when they were questioning themselves and their ability to do what God said, they still had to do exactly what God said. Because one thing I think I have learned in my own life is that when you hear God, you actually hear him. Like that is something that I have had to settle in myself, because people will make you question what you know and your spirit knows, but your spirit is always going to be louder, and it is louder if you really shut down the applause. When you shut down the voices around you. So I was just talking to somebody about something, and I said you have to shut out the noise. Like you are taking in way too much noise right now. I said, you have to shut it all down. I know you got to do this. I know you got to do that. I know you have X, Y, and Z on your plate, and you're serving all of these different people, and you're helping them, and you're building your business. Shut them off. Turn the TV off, turn the lives off, you might need to just shut in for a moment and just quiet yourself. I think it was last week, and with Cherish 2 weeks ago, we talked about having to sit in silence and being okay with that, because that is where you learn that purpose. And I think everything you said is centered on, they knew the purpose, they knew the call, they knew what the assignment was. And once you hear that, you cannot let that go. And I think that is where a lot of people go wrong, is they begin to then let that go. And because then now I am focused on what they said. I do want them to say something to me. When you said you have to shut down purpose to acknowledge the applause, you're absolutely correct. When somebody is up singing on a stage, once they start clapping, you stop singing, because like you're thank you to say you either have to have finished or stop what you're doing. That was so good. That was
can I jump back in too?
Yes, please
Have
do.
you ever seen, I know you've seen, have you ever watched a great singer? You'll see them close their eyes, they lock in, they internalize, and they become a better singer. They're not watching, ooh, did they like that note? Ooh, did they like this note? When they cook, they cook.
Yeah.
They don't, you see the eyes go close and boom, and all of a sudden you get a better version of them. You go, oh, here we go. Here we go. I remember the women in the church when I was a kid, they sing, and we had our favorites. My auntie, Sister Phyllis, excuse me. Well, when she closed her eyes, it was time to turn up. You hear me? Because it wasn't about the audience. It was about her relationship with God in that moment. Yeah. She wanted to give God her very best.
Yes.
And that's it. And I go back, if you look at Jeremiah, Isaiah, look at what happens when they're isolated. Where was John the Baptist? Where was he? Where was he? See, the isolation is where the progress comes from. It's not and I'm going back to this because I think this is so important. The isolation is where your freedom comes from, because then you stop caring so much about people. Sometimes you need people to stab you in the back so you can stop carrying their weight. I got to let you go. I got to let you go. The Bible says, lay aside every weight that so easily besets us. It's talking about some people you like, some of your friends, some of the people you hung out with, because they won't let you be what you've been called to be. They're going to say, oh, I know you from back around the block. I know what you used to do.
Come on.
I know what you used to do. And so they're locking you in. They're saying, yeah, stay where I'm comfortable with you. And God has said, but no. That was a moment, not your purpose. That wasn't the gift I gave you. You misused it, or you were in a bad position. That was the good. I need you to leave that because there's more. Listen, I used to watch this show called Married with Children. Al Bundy was one of the main characters. And he would always talk about the 4 touchdowns he scored at Polk High. And we laugh at it all the time. But we know the person who always talks about what they did in high school. And they never progressed from that moment because the applause they got in high school was enough. They stopped working in high school.
They stopped.
You got to say, it's not enough. I'm not done with the work. And oh, by the way, I want to get to God and hear him say, well done, my good and faithful. That's the applause I got to work for.
The applause.
Great is my, rejoice, be exceedingly glad. Great is your reward in heaven. Wait a minute. So I shouldn't focus on the rewards down here? You mean I shouldn't go and collect Facebook likes and Instagram likes and people telling me how great I am here? Oh, I'm supposed to be working toward a greater reward that doesn't rust, that they can't take the likes back in heaven. If you get a like in heaven and you happen to get a like in heaven, you keep that. On earth, they'll like you today and you can say something they don't like. They will go and take their like back, unfollow you, unfriend you, and unblock, and then block you.
And then block you.
And then block you because they don't like what you said. Yeah, they don't like what you said. So I'm going to work toward the heavenly reward. That's all I'm saying.
That is so good. I actually thought when you were talking about Joseph, I was thinking about how his purpose was directly tied to his family, and he knew that the dream he had was directly tied to his family, but he had to go serve somewhere else. He had to go serve a completely different place to get in position to be able to reach back, to be able to go get his family, to be able to then say, yeah, come on. like he could, people often focus on the forgiving and they forget, but he had to go through all of those sufferings. And Joseph went through everything. Like
He went through everything.
he went through
He went through everything.
You
Boy.
dealt with it, so did Joseph. Like Joseph went through everything.
Mm-hmm.
And still was then elevated at the end of all of that. And because, like you said, because he was able to endure it, then he was able to say, okay, yeah, now I can forgive you. Now come. And it wasn't even about forgiveness. He's just excited to see his family. Like, yeah, let me help you. I have all of these things. Like, let me now I can actually fulfill this dream that God had showed me way back years ago before.
Mm-hmm.
And if he had gone and said, well, God gave me this dream, and he stayed stuck on the dream, and he only focused on just that dream, not the purpose, but the dream. If he had just focused on that moment and not allowed it to come to fruition and not allowed himself to walk through it, he would have never actually got there. He would have never actually seen the dream itself come to fruition and come to pass. I want to go back. Catherine says, I'm putting up on the screen, Keisha. When your call makes you look crazy to others, they don't understand because they don't understand your purpose, but they're not supposed to understand because God didn't ask for their opinion. His applause is the only one that's needed.
Can I say something? This is right on the top of my head. There are two things. First of all, a dream is given to you that no one else can see because it's yours. So when people don't understand your dream, when I told people I was going to create children's books and I was going to start my own publishing company and that I thought I can do it without begging anybody for money, they couldn't see what God showed me. So when they didn't agree with me, it's not for them to agree. But if I wanted their applause, I would have sat down and took counsel with them and listened and go, oh, that's really wise. You're right. Maybe I am moving too fast. Oh, I need a job. Yeah, I got these twins on the way. I need a job. See, if I listened to them so that they would tell me how wise I was, it paralyzes me. Look, watch this. If we go back to Joseph, if Joseph wanted to get along with his brothers, he stops dreaming. He stops telling them the dreams. He goes, let me shut up about this. I'll wait till later. And he never becomes what he's supposed to be. And there are a bunch of Josephs walking around right now who stopped telling people about the dreams that God gave them because they didn't want to be disliked. I don't want people not to like me. I want everybody to love me. And so they kill the gift. They kill the seed that God put in them so that they can get along. They want to get along with everybody. They want everybody to like them. Your dream that God gave you is not supposed to make sense to other people because they're incapable of delivering it. Only God is capable of delivering it. So only He understands.
Oh, that's good.
So let's go back 2,000-3,000 years when they're prophesying about the coming of Christ. It doesn't even make sense. He was bruised for our iniquities. Hey, what is happening here? It didn't make sense until He did it. As a matter of fact, when Jesus is on the cross, when Jesus is about to be, they're trying to take my boy out, he starts quoting Psalms. What?
That was written years prior about what he's actually talking about right now.
You see what I'm saying? Oh. You see, but to the people who heard it, it's like, what is David talking about?
If they had not written it, he wouldn't have had that to refer back to prove his.
You got it. See, they had to do their job. They had to do their job so that when Jesus recalled it, it's prophecy. Oh, so even though it didn't make sense at the time, when the prophets were talking about Jesus, it didn't make sense. It made no sense. When he came and showed up, now it made sense, and it became what we call a callback. So the callback solidified that's how we know he's the Messiah, is because of the callbacks. Because people did their job, we now know who the Messiah is because he fulfilled the prophecy.
Oh, that is so good. Do your job so that we can know who the Messiah is.
Do your job. Do your job. Stop worrying about people understanding. Do your job.
That is so
Stop worrying about people telling you how cute you look. Do your job.
Come on. That is so good.
You can be fired up. I thought we were gonna have a peaceful conversation.
Listen,
I was gonna be
you
respectful.
lied. Let me tell y'all something. He came on here when I had my first conversation. He was like, "We ain't gonna be preaching. We ain't gonna be."
No.
The man came on here a whole preacher today, like he in his preacher voice. I know y'all heard it. Like he went back Kojic type. Like he tapped into Kojic Baptist roots and just
Man,
y'all heard that. I know y'all heard it. We
that's
are
not
in.
what happened. That's not
Listen,
what happened.
y'all. I want to thank y'all for tuning in. I see so many people on. I'm so excited to see Pastor Reyes is on. Catherine Stapleton, Danielle Russell, Jamie. Listen, yes, Jamie, close your eyes, friend, and lock in. That's where you are. Close your eyes and lock in, friend. Absolutely. Keisha, thank you all for tuning in this morning to the Confidence Factor, where identity meets strategy and confidence becomes our posture. Listen, I am talking about building in silence with the one and the only Tyrus Goshay. Y'all, he is an author. He is a man of God. Clearly, as y'all can tell, he is a man of God. He is a speaker, a teacher. He's all of those things. He works in the community. He does so many things. He also has his own children's publishing company. We are excited, and I am excited to have him and honored to have him. Listen, we're going to shift and we're going to talk about the integrity required to do all of, listen, Keisha, this is what this is about. And this is really what this live and this series is about. She said, I feel healing and deliverance on this live. This is what practical healing and practical deliverance looks like, when you can actually shift out of those things and get the actual wisdom and the nuggets that you need to do exactly what you're called to do. We just said, do your job so that they can know who the Messiah is. Y'all, I don't care how small the assignment is. And I'm going to talk about this before we shift and talking about integrity. I actually wanted to bring this up. You were talking about Danielle Russell is on. And there was an aspect of my story that was just always random to me. I used to teach step aerobics class and Zumba classes and fitness classes. And I was like, this doesn't feel like it fits anywhere in my journey, except maybe to just help me lose some weight and do better by my health and, understand my body a little bit more. I always chalked it up to that, but it didn't necessarily fit into this other aspect of the vision. It was like all the things that God had shown me, it didn't fit. It didn't make sense. And so I was like, okay, well, and I moved on, but it always stuck with me. Like, what is that? Because my life is very intentional and God is very intentional about my life. And I had a meeting this week. I literally had a meeting this week that the girl starts talking to me about all of the things that God has before her. And she starts talking about how she is endeavoring to become a fitness instructor. And I start sharing my story, and all of a sudden her face lights up, and she was like, I know that this is God, because like it was directly tied to my ability to have that story. So if I had not had that in my piece, in my story, and been able to share that with her because of what we were talking about, then now she was able to have this whole aha moment. So many things clicked for her, that this moment that she is in, that we're working on, all of the things, it made sense, because now I can help her achieve some of the own successes she has without even acknowledging and knowing. If I had not had that, she may not have had those moments. So and I'm saying that because God is in the details of the things. So I wanted to throw that piece in there, and I thought about that. I forgot to share that, but I want to talk about the integrity aspect, because what does it look like? Talked about people when they're on their jobs and they are working at their desk, and people that are good at their jobs or integral in their spaces, they will just keep working without without the need for their boss to come by and be looking over their shoulders or all of those things. They actually just do what they're supposed to do. But then there are other people that only start working when somebody's looking over their shoulder. And I want to talk about what integrity looks like when it's inconvenient or unrewarded. What does it look like when, and what does that look like practically to have the integrity? It's easy to say, do your job, but what does that look like and specifically for the person, the individual who you're assignment may be directly attached to people. Sometimes it's if your job is to do the laundry, it's easy to do the laundry because there's your applause is okay, you got clean clothes. But when your job is literally to help people, when your job is specific, and yes, there are, when your job is directly correlated to a person's shift or change, how do you then push when that person doesn't respond to you? And how do you remain integral? So I think I want to back up 1 second and have you identify what is real integrity, and then talk about what does it mean to have that when it's inconvenient or unrewarded.
Yeah. So integrity is a lot of things. It's not, it's not one thing where, you hear in church, oh, integrity, where you don't do anything wrong. That's not real. That's fake. That's why you see these men fall, these pastors fall, because they produce something that they can't live up to. So I want to give you guys a different take on what integrity looks like sometimes.
I hope y'all are catching these nuggets he's dropping, because he's dropping little nuggets in these things. I hope y'all are catching it.
That's what we call them nuggets. You know where we got that from.
Nuggets. Yeah, these little nuggets.
In 2 hours, in 2.5 hours, I am going to be coaching my son's flag football team this morning. We have lost. We are 0-4. I've never had a losing season. I've been coaching for 6 years. I've been playing sport. I've never been on a losing team in my life. I am going through it. Do you hear me? I'm yelling at the kids. I got plays, playbooks. We got sleeves. I'm ready to play. Look at the pictures right there. I'm yelling on the sideline. And integrity is this. Every week, I'm going to be a better coach.
Yeah.
I go, God, I don't know what you're doing, but I know you're doing something. This must be of you. There is no way I can lose.
Tyrus
every day.
And so I am.
Listen, I'm telling you, I go, hey, pray for me. Pray for me. This week, it's going to be rough. I'm going to pray for me. I go out there and I'm yelling and the parents are looking at me crazy. And let me tell you the truth. I go, maybe I could just quit.
Maybe
I could just quit. This is embarrassing. The kids my plays always work. It can't be me. It can't be me. Maybe this is just a bad bunch of kids and I should just quit. And integrity goes, no, you cannot. You will show up every week and take your beating like a man because you signed up for this. You put your name on this. These kids are relying on you. And oh, by the way, you told them we don't quit when we're losing. We fight harder. So you're losing. Are you going to quit? And we go up against the best team in the conference today. And I have to go out there and I have to encourage them and believe we can beat them. Even if I don't believe, I have to believe we can beat them. That's what integrity looks like. And after the game,
I still gotta believe that I can beat.
That's right. I have to go out there and believe. I have to do my job. I have to I have to do my job. Now, I'm saying this in a joking way. I'm not gonna quit on the kids. Yeah, I am going to yell at the kids. If you've ever seen me on the sideline, it is a show, and I am embarrassed because I am an intense person. I don't know if you can tell. I am an intense person. I get fired up. I lock in. I turn up. You hear me? I let it all go. It's like raw, right? But I'm going to make that more practical because I'm talking about football and kids and having a good time. The kids, they know I'm crazy. They know this old Marine is yelling at them. They're 14. They can handle it. But in my everyday integrity is no one cares. No one knows. No one's celebrating me. And I still have to come in and do the work. I have to do the work. Let me show you something. I'm going to grab something to show you. Let me see if I got a book. I want to show you just one book. I know I got a book around here somewhere. I got 1,000 of them. Here we go.
They can tell that you're a little intense.
A little bit. So when I'm working on these books, I make these books, right? I sit down and I have no idea what's going to happen. It's the consistency with no applause. It's the integrity of sitting down every day and saying, I'm going to do this. I'm going to start off. I'm going to figure it out. And as I am consistent, the information comes. If I am not consistent, it doesn't come. So I have to sit here, I have to bury myself in my work every day. And the reward is I finish a book. I never know how any book is going to end up. I never know. What I think it's going to be, it's never been that. Not one single time has it ever been when I thought it was going to be.
Come on.
But here's the solution. Here's the end result is when I show up at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, when my team shows up at 10 o'clock, we have to be consistent in work. The integrity is we show up to work. We don't show up to complain. I don't care. The client said this yesterday, today they said that. It's irrelevant. I have to be a person of integrity. See, we think about integrity on the pulpit. We think about the integrity of I read my word. Yeah, those things are all a part of it. But when you go to work, are you a person of integrity? Do you quit when it gets hard?
Come on.
Do you cheat? Do you give them the bare minimum? Do you give your very best? Integrity comes with the calling.
Yeah.
Everything will happen on the pulpit. It's not always in the church. It's what do you do when you're working? If God called you to be, what do you call it, a yoga instructor, which I got to let me give you something else. If He called you to be a Zumba instructor, He called you to be a Zumba instructor. Do you have integrity when you show up? Are you just doing enough to get your check and walk out the door? Are you buying into what you've been called to do? Are you doing enough to say, give me my check? Listen, get lost in what it is you're doing. You gotta buy into what you're doing, and that's what shows up.
Come on.
That's what shows up. That's the results. That's how you get the true applause.
Somebody, and this, I've been watching this video every day, so y'all keep hearing this video and come out of me because I'm literally listening. But Terry Savelle Foy, she said the Lord told her one time that don't be average and your life won't be average. And it was literally that. Don't be average and do what you're like, show up and go beyond what you're supposed to do. Stop doing the bare minimum. She was talking about how at the time she would just get up and she would go, she would, get up last minute just before she had to leave out the door. She would run out the door, get in her car, listen to music the whole way, dance and sing all the way to work, go to work, barely do her work, barely do all the things, come home, get, on the drive home, listen to music, dance, and just have, a good old time on the way home, get home, turn on something on the TV, watch TV all night, go to sleep, get up and do the same thing the next day. And she might go to church on a Sunday. She might do X, Y, and Z. That was such a space that so many people, we just get into the rut of life. We live for this means to an end. Some people, your job is your purpose, but most of the time your job is a means to actually reach a space, right? Your job in and of itself, your purpose it's just the means or the tool that God may be using. It's just a vehicle for you to actually fulfill the purpose that's on your life. If you're a writer, a writer is going to write, right? A scribe is going to scribe. So no matter what you do, if you become an admin, that means everything you do is going to come out in the form of a writer, because you are a writer. If you are I don't know, if you're a designer, right? I have my friend Jamie is on. She's also my graphic designer for Inspired. She designs everything. It comes up in everything we do. Everything we do, the conversations, she'd be like, "That's ugly. That's terrible." Because it's just who she is.
That's right.
Who you are shows up. But if you're not integral in the spaces of who you are or the vehicles that God uses for you to show up as who you are, then you will miss the opportunities and ruin these spaces for you to actually begin. So if Joseph didn't interpret those dreams, if he had just said, I'm tired, I don't have the time, God gave me this dream, the dream that God gave me over here, I don't have time to be interpreting your dream over here. I'm frustrated, I'm mad, because I'm angry because what God showed me didn't happen. And my brothers, if he had sat in bitterness and refused to be to literally stop being who he was in the moment, the dreamer, the interpreter, all of those things, that he would have missed this moment to actually help shift something that later showed up in his life and later actually was the tool to bring him into his purpose. He would have missed that moment had he not interpreted that dream years before. And if we don't, like you said, if we miss these moments and we don't do our job in those moments, then the actual dream itself won't be fulfilled because we miss it. And so I think it requires the integrity to both who you are and to the vehicle and the tool that God is using. So if you're working and you're being integral, if your job if you have a job, if you have an assignment, if you're volunteering, if you have any of that, you have to continue to do and work as if it's unto the Lord. That's literally what Keisha said. Do everything unto the Lord. Everything you do, do it
Can I say? Let
unto
me
the
say this one thing, and I'm gonna let
Lord.
you have the show again. One
Yeah.
thing: there should be a line of people waiting to hire Christians. By the nature of what we say we are, people should say, "Oh, this person looks like a Christian. Oh, their name is so and so. I wonder if they're a Christian. Oh, they attend this church.
Come
I
on.
should hire them." Because what should come with that should be excellence. But that's not what we give. What we give is a bunch of church mumbo jumbo, a bunch of feel good on Sunday, do nothing on Monday. That's what our reputation is. So we are not doing this thing.
we we have built a reputation. I literally thought about the military, because I was like, who has that reputation that if you have this, then that means you have integrity, you have, character, it's the military. When in the US, the military, if you have military background, if you have gone
Mhm.
through any sort of boot camp, people are quick to hire you in spaces, or they're apt to listen to you, because you have this, they know you're going to be a hard worker, they know that you're going to be integral, they know that you're going to show up on time, they know that you're going to do what you said you were going to do, because it was ingrained in them. It was ingrained, and they know that that's the that is the that's whatever we were just I just lost the word, but that is what they're
Integrity.
known
It's
for.
the motto. It's what
Yes,
we
it's
do
the
in the
model.
military.
Yes,
Integrity.
and that's what they're
Show up.
known for.
Consistency. Yep.
But we have in so many ways, integrity has been lost, because I feel like so many times we get so focused on purpose that we miss that part. We miss the
The
integrity.
serving. The
We miss
serving to get something.
service, and we get so focused on this moment of purpose. That's why I said, if we were taught, like, even with the concept of Joseph, if he got so focused on the moment that they bowed to him, if he got so focused on that
Mm.
specific thing, and yes, that was the dream. The dream was that they would bow. The dream, that was literally the dream. But if he stayed focused there and missed these moments of service, he would have never actually reached that moment where they actually bowed.
That's
And
right.
it's that is yeah, my brain is going a million miles an hour.
I'm having too much fun. Listen,
Listen.
you have to stop me because I'm over here like, boy, now I'm say this. No, let me shut up.
Listen, I'm screaming. The last I want to ship. Listen, welcome those that have joined us. Like, thank you for joining, and those that are watching the replay, thank you. Comment, tell me where you're watching from. All of those things. Welcome to the Confidence Factor. This week we are talking about building in silence, and I have the one and the only Tyrus Goshay, and we are getting ready to dive into talking about legacy, which we've kind of touched on already. Legacy over likes. He kind of started with the end, y'all, and kind of built us backwards. I just want y'all to know that that's a thing. He started us from the end and brought us back. So now we're going to tie it all together. What is the difference, Tyrus, between building a platform and building legacy? What is the difference, and what is the connection?
Yeah, so oftentimes, and when the word legacy, there are two ways to look at it. There's God style legacy and world style legacy. World style legacy is get as much money as you can, buy a big building, put your name on it, everybody has to remember you, right? Come up with an invention, do something. God style legacy is we still talk about David right now, thousands of years later. We don't
Thousand.
talk about it because there's a building that he created. We talk about him because of what he was in the hands of God. Same with Moses, Isaiah, Jacob, Job, Esther. We look at these people, their legacy belongs to God, and God's having a legacy that's attached to God is so much more than what any man could ever build. And so when we talk about legacy over likes. It's like I want to be a part of the kingdom of God. So in my brokenness, in my failure, in my mistakes, I can look at David and go, David made a lot. Ooh, David got somebody killed. Who David? Oh, look at this. David was a wild boy. His sons hated him. Oh, but because he always turned back to God, when he lost his child, the Bible says he put on his ephod and he went to pray. His ending was blessed be the name of the Lord. I'm gonna lose my son. It is what it is. I'm coming back to God. We're reading about David right now. We have his legacy because of his willingness and obedience to always turn to God. Because Saul was a great leader,
Yeah.
and his legacy ended up being poor at the end because he turned away from God.
Come on.
They could see, and they both made mistakes, but Saul didn't know when to turn back to God and say, I'm messing up. David immediately, like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Let me turn to God immediately. When
Yeah.
Samuel came to David and told him and pronounced, David, oh my God, can we please let this thing pass? We see that David's legacy is a greater legacy because he kept turning back to God. So when we read the Bible, man, I think we spiritualize so much of it that we're missing the point. These are broken people
Life
who make
lived.
mistakes, who don't have it all together, but
Come
they keep turning back to God. And in turning back to God, he goes, I got you. This is what I'm here for. We look at it like, oh, that person's super deep. No, David wasn't super deep. David just had a calling. David was a mess.
on.
David took his boy, sent him into war to die because he wanted his wife. That sounds like a whole bunch of modern men who lust after women. But when
Come
we don't
on.
hear the story of David, we don't see that way. I can turn around and go back to God and say, God, I messed up, and God has open arms. See, we don't talk about that part. We just talk about David killing Goliath. We just talk about David being in the hands of God. What about the part when David was alone in the forest
Come
hiding from
on.
Saul, about to
Come
be
on.
killed? What
Come on.
about the time when David had the upper hand and he had his mighty men and he could have killed Saul and he goes, I'm not going to touch you. We keep getting so spiritual. We missed the part where David had integrity where he goes, that guy belongs to God. I can't kill him. We missed the part when David had the wisdom to go and ask for forgiveness because he knew that his legacy was in God's hand. We don't focus on that part. We keep making everything so spiritual. We need to just read the book like a regular person. This David character is something else. David was not perfect. And I keep talking about David because we see the ups and downs of David. We see the ups and downs. We ignore it in the body of Christ, but the world sees it. David was a little bit of a mess,
A
right?
mess.
We have prophets who ran and hid in caves. We don't talk about it to be bold for Jesus. Okay, I'm agreeing with that. But there are times, even after God has moved in your life, you're gonna want to run and hide. It is the nature of a human being to say, I'm not good enough.
Come
And
on.
then in the still quiet voice, God goes, yeah, you are. And oh, by the way, it's not about you, it's about me. You aren't good enough. But I decided to call you and let my name be shown through you. And oh, by the way, here's the benefit of that. I'll give you legacy. So your kids will know that I was your God and I'm to be their God and they're to serve me. So I will give them a legacy as well. We spiritualize stuff so much and we need to simplify it and be like, I want to be on the winning team. And this guy, he seems to not lose and not let his people lose even when they should. Let's go back to Moses. Moses goes up against Pharaoh. How is
Yeah.
little bitty old Moses going to go up against Pharaoh? Because he had the God of the universe behind him. And when Moses spoke, he was speaking for God. And because when Moses spoke and him speaking for God, we are now speaking about Moses today. When
Come
we
on.
understand that saying, when God is for you, who can be against you? It's not because of you, it's because God decided to use you, speak through you. And because he spoke through you, he has to hold you up. When his arms got tired, somebody had to come and hold him up.
Come on.
God was still using him. He's tired. He's a human being. Hold his
Yes.
arms up. Let him keep
Yes.
working.
Yeah.
When God is speaking through us, it's not about us. The legacy isn't about us, it's through him. So if we attach ourselves to a winning God, so when I go and play football today, if my team lose, did I give them the word of God so they can look back and listen to the messages I gave them before the games? How we keep fighting, we don't ever quit. We stand up strong in the face of adversity.
Mm.
Maybe I can link them to God. And they might remember that crazy Marine coach who was always yelling at them, but he kept talking about God, how we
Come on.
don't quit. Kept talking about David versus Goliath. Let's be David today.
Come on.
See, it's not about me. So I got to go out there and maybe get my behind whooped today so that the legacy can be continued of men who serve God. It's not about me. I'm in the way. If God don't use me, I'm a mess. Listen, let me tell you, when I be yelling at some kids, I am in the way. You hear me? I got to get out of the way and let God go.
You remember that today as you go talk to them, and
I'm
you
going to try. Listen, I'm going to try.
remember that today. Don't be in the way and let
I'm going to
God
try.
talk to you
I'm going
through
to try.
you. But y'all listen, even in that space, like being able to turn to God and say, I'm trying to do what you said and you told me to do. I'm trying to be integral in the space you've assigned me, but I'm a mess in this space. I need you to help me in this moment. That's okay too. And it's okay to be transparent about those spaces. It's okay. My team, you got to meet a couple of them today. I am very transparent with them. I'm like, y'all, listen, I am growing through this space with you all. We are doing this. Here's where I am. Here's where I'm growing to, and here's where you are, and here's where we're growing to. We're growing together. That's what we're doing. We're gonna grow together in this. And it's okay to be transparent. It's okay to be all of those things. And I want to actually talk about the success of what you talked about. I want to ask you, when did you start writing, and when did you publish your first book, and how many books have you published now?
Yeah, so I'm an illustrator. So we illustrate. I illustrate and I
Okay.
help independent writers, people who write
Okay.
children's books.
Okay.
They come to me and I make it happen for them. I produce the books. We put the books out on the market. That's what we do. So I'm just illustrator. So um, it's a little bit of a long story. I'm going to keep it as short as possible, but I want to give the important details.
Yes.
When I was a kid, I was 12 years old. These two men came and hired me and said, "We want you to draw for our book." And I'm 12 or 13 years old. Don't know what I'm doing. I've never taken on such a task. It was the hardest thing as a child I'd ever done. I drew all the time, but when you have to draw to a story, it's really difficult. And it burnt me. My mother and father didn't know how to protect me. They didn't understand anything about illustration publishing. They didn't know, oh, you're supposed to get this money. So these people clearly took advantage of me as a kid who was an artist. And I went in a different direction. But that was my purpose. That's what God had already called me for. So I knew I was going to be an artist, and I've done some everything. I did tattoos, I airbrushed clothes, I did murals. Anything in the art world I've probably done. I designed toys. I probably designed your kids'
Wow.
Happy Meal toys for the people who are watching and listening. I worked on video games.
Wow.
I did anything in art because I go, look, I know I want to be an artist, but I don't want to be broke. So I'm going to go make this money. I'm going to make this money no matter what. And so the purpose was in me, but I
Yeah.
decided I knew more than God. I'm gonna figure this out on my own. So I'm bouncing from career to career to career. And then I get a call one day. I end up becoming a college professor. Long story short, and I'm teaching game design. And I go out to this event and I meet a bunch of guys from Pixar. They're like, "Hey, you should come and work with us." And I was like, "Nope, I had just gotten married. I'm not moving my family out to California. So, well, give us your number and stay in touch." Long story short, a guy reaches out to me from Disney and he says, "Hey, I'm looking for an artist. Never done children's books, had no desire." That looked terrible to me. Um, it looked terrible. It's like, I don't, that's what poor people do. Poor people do children's books. Like, I want to be, I thought I was going to California to work on Transformers. Let me tell the truth. I told Pastor Harry, I'm going to California. I'm working on Transformers. I'm going to the big dogs. I'm going to be a big dog. And he just looked at me and said,
How
"You
did that
can't
work
go to
out for
California."
you?
Right. He said, "You can't go to California. You'll be a mess in California." The nerve. How dare you proclaim me a mess in California? Who do you think? I'm telling you, he told me this. He said, "So you can't go to
Woo.
California. You'll be a mess in California." Huh.
Yeah.
Long story short, the guy from Disney reaches out, beautiful brother, great guy. He said, "Look, there's an opportunity for you. You know what? I'll do this." I said, "Well, how much do it pay?" When he told me how much it paid, listen, when he told me how much it paid, I said, "What do you mean?" He said, look, I'm not going to put the numbers out there. Let me just tell you, I would have made more in 1 week than I would have made in 2 months, maybe 3 months, right? I said, I'm in the wrong line of work. So I do this project with Disney, and sure enough, I got paid. You hear me? I got paid. My book's on the shelf. And I realized this is really what I wanted. I just convinced myself I couldn't make any money doing it. So I had created an alternate life based on my wisdom and decided I was going to do these things. So
Ooh.
I worked for Disney for a while and I fell in love with it. And then this is when iPads were getting really popular. I was on the train and there was a book that you can touch and it was interactive. And I was like, "Oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life." Right in that moment, I knew. I told
Yeah.
my coworker, my friend, at that point, I was a dean at a college. And my coworker was a really good friend with me. I said, "I know what I'm doing for the rest of my life. I'm making children's books." Four
Love it.
years later, I'm leaving. Listen, I'm still hard headed. Let me tell all the truth. Listen, I'm still hard headed. I went after my dream job at another video game company. I had been trying to get in that company for 12 years. It was. I gotta tell the truth. Let me tell the truth, young
Tell
lady.
the truth.
All
Tell
right.
it.
It
Tell
was
the
my
truth.
dream job. I go, this is like working for Pixar in Chicago. I'm going to take this job. I didn't even apply for the job. They called me on accident. I missed the first two rounds of interviews and ended up in the third round of interviews. I was like, we don't know how you got here, but since you're here, we're going to interview you. I'm thinking this God. I'm like, look at God, right? They hire me. They give me the title that I want. I mean, this building, this is
Just set
something
up.
like television.
Set
We had 5 restaurants downstairs you choose from every day. We had PlayStation, video games, ping pong tables, all the bros in the world. I thought I was in heaven. Let me tell you, I went through a year of hell. I went through the hardest year of my life as
up
a
that.
professional. Now, I call Pastor Harry. I go, Pastor Harry, I'm about to kill somebody up in here. I am about to take somebody's head off. He said, son, you can't do that.
Don't
Can't
do
do
it.
that. I said, if you got to quit, quit. But don't do that. And so if you could stay, stay. I stayed. I finished out the time. And when I finally got fired, because I'm hard headed, I didn't leave. God
Finally got
told me to leave.
fired.
I'm hard. I had to get fired. I wouldn't leave. God said, well, they're going to have to fire you. Hadn't been fired. This hurt me so bad. It took me, listen, my pride was crushed. My ego was crushed because I'm the man. How dare you fire me? You know how good I am at this? I had to get fired. Do you hear me? And I was in my office. I was
Your
a
pride will ruin
mess.
you every time. It'll
I
ruin
didn't
you
cry.
every
I wasn't no tears coming out. But listen, I was crying on the inside. There was a lot of sleeve wiping and nose wiping on the inside. You hear me?
time.
And
Dug it.
for a year, I had to take a whooping for a year because of my hard headedness. And I said, that'll never happen to me again because of my disobedience. Not that lesson. And so I said, okay, I took my 401k out. I started my business. I've been doing it for 16 years now.
Mm.
And it has been fantastic. I've done over 200 books. I started several other companies from that now. We are now in schools teaching children how to write children's books, how to design them, the formula, because we're going to make a bunch of authors, little brown and black boys, white kids too,
Love
who can
this.
tell their stories and get them out to the world. And
Yes.
so I've gone from being hard headed to being a little bit obedient, and God has been blessing me. It has been amazing. So the latest business I started is the after school business. And in me being obedient and listening to that, that's more lucrative than everything. So I got to stop being hard headed and do what I'm told to do. There's the answers to your question in the long form.
Well, and I asked you that because, and you got me to the end, is what not just, and you said lucrative, so that's not necessarily the question, but what do
Mhm.
you feel is the most out of everything that you just said, out of all the things that you've done and had the opportunity to do, what do you feel is the most successful thing? What is the moment in your life that you knew you achieved purpose? The biggest moment of your life?
Is when we were running a recovery home for our church, the Sign of the Dove.
Mhm.
And Apostle Harry, who had poured into me for all those years, someone had robbed him. The person who was running the recovery home had robbed him, and the house was in shambles, and he didn't know what to do. And he had called a meeting. I was on the board at the time, and he was like, the board started to go sour toward him because of this person that they had put in the place that robbed him. And I knew in that moment, I believe God say, it's your turn to step up. And I took over the recovery home, and boy, did I take a beating. But I remember walking outside one day and the sun was shining, and it came from the inner part of my body. It said, this is the best job you've ever had. It is not the best job I've ever had. It's the least amount of money. It's the least amount of clout. There's no pub to this. I'm in a recovery home with a bunch of former addicts. This is awful. And it still said, this is the best job you've ever had. So you're right. This is the best job I've ever had in my
Mm.
life. And I
Mm.
realized that my purpose is to speak to men and help them rebuild their life. And so, out of all the companies, Disney, Marvel, all the companies I work for, the greatest opportunity I've ever had is to share the love of God with men who are in recovery and help them rebuild their lives. And long story short, one of the men I met in the recovery home is now my best friend. He's also my business partner. We own a gym together in Gurnee. Out of the ashes,
I
God was
hope
able to do what
you
he
all are
wanted to do.
catching this. I really
Yeah.
hope you all are catching this.
Yeah.
Just talked about all of the things that he's done in the illustration world, and all of the designing that he has done, all of the teaching, the college professors, all of the the classes that he's done, everything that all of these high level accolades that all of the money he has seen, all of these things, and he talked about that. And he literally, when we asked him the moment, what is the most successful moment that you've had? He brings up the moment that is actually one of the hardest for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want you all to understand that those are the spaces that there are the least amount of people around you. Those are the moments that nobody's clapping. We clap for the money. We clap for the names. You work for Disney. You work for Pixar. You work all of these things that you've done and you've worked for. But the moment that he defines as the most successful is the moment that he was most alone, most frustrated, walking outside and just by himself, but also walking in purpose. I really want you all to catch that, to my entrepreneurs, my creatives, my ministry leaders, all of you that are on here that will watch this later. Please know that who you are is always going to come to the forefront, and it's always going to be, but you have to focus on building and going through your own journey so that you can continue in it. Somebody actually this week said, you should do one on continuing. And I said, that's actually, I think what we're talking about on Saturday is actually, it is the confidence to continue. And that's really what this is. When you're talking about building in silence, we're talking about the confidence to continue and to find those moments and to seek those moments. And I implore you to seek the moments that fulfill your purpose over your if you chase your purpose over the moment of the dream, like we talked about with Joseph. Don't shoot for the moment of the dream, but shoot for the purpose that is behind it. And if you stay the course and you trust God to get you, he will get you there every single time. Go through the course, serve your way there, and you will get there. Tyrus, I'm so excited that you have been here. Our time has been well spent. Listen, y'all, every week I say, we're going to do this in about 45 minutes, and nobody has listened. Nobody has listened. Not one of y'all has helped me stay on time. Not one of y'all. Not one of y'all has helped me stay on time. But today has been so good. You have helped me even in my own space, and I'm so excited to have had you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for everything you do. Is there any last words that you want to share before we close out?
I want to leave everybody with this. And in your failures and in your success, and having done all to stand. Mm-hmm. You are going to fail. You are going to fail. You're going to disappoint. You're going to betray. You're going to, all the things you don't want to do, you're probably going to do some of those things. Not all of them, but some of those things. And when you get done, all you can do is repent, get back on your feet, and do it again. And try to do it better every time. And having done all to stand. Keep standing. Don't quit. Don't give up. It is a long journey, and it's full of mistakes. It's full of lessons. Even Peter, who walked with Jesus, who knew Jesus personally, denied Jesus.
Denied him
3 times. And then here's what Christ did. He restored him and built his church upon him. And none of us are greater than Peter. None of us know Jesus in the way that Peter knew Jesus. And so we're going to fail and fall as well. But we have a God who can restore us, put us back to our purpose, and then ultimately give us the applause that we crave. And it's not, the applause that we crave isn't from God, isn't from man, it's from God. We want to hear, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Enter into ye rest. So that's it. That's what I'm going to leave everybody with.
Listen, thank you so much. I love you, and I truly cherish this time and everything that you have. Absolutely a huge heart. Listen, y'all, this has been so good. This has been so good today, and I am excited about everything that is getting ready to come. Listen, I have a quick announcement. In the spirit and in as we talk about the consistency to continue. As much as I don't necessarily wasn't super excited about continuing, I feel the charge to continue with you all for another month. And I'm going to see, we're going to just say 4 more weeks. And then we'll see from there what happens and what the Lord says. But we are going to be talking about the confidence factor journey. Over the next 4 weeks, I'm going to meet with 4 amazing people, and I'm going to be announcing them over the next couple of days. But we're going to be talking about their journey in confidence, specific to their story. We're going to dive in. This month, we had some amazing people to speak to the leadership, to speak to the entrepreneurs, and to speak to the creatives. But next month and coming up, we're going to speak to the journey of those creatives, the journey of those entrepreneurs, and talk about their specific journey to confidence. And I'm so excited. We're going to start next week with my sister, Keziah Jenkins. I'm so excited to have her on. We're going to start with her, and she's going to kick it off. Stay tuned for that. I love you all, and I am so excited for you all to be here. Thank you for joining the Confidence Factor in May. Thank you for your support. Be sure to share, like, and comment with where you're from, and be sure to go follow Tyrus. You can follow him. Can you all put his information on the screen? You can be sure to follow him at Tigo Sketch. And on Instagram, you can go to his website. I did see, Danielle, I did see your comment, and I will reach out to you, and we can get started and get you all connected, and see where you are in your own dream to write your own children's book. So we'll get all of those things out, and we'll talk through that. But y'all, I'm so excited about everything that God is doing. Thank you all for joining. Keep building in silence, keep obeying, and keep being confident. I will see you all next week. Bye.